Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyberspeak Labs, Defenders and Lab Coats podcast. I am very, very excited to be kicking this episode off with a very passionate, very intelligent, very educated. I could name all of the LinkedIn titles for this individual, but I'm going to say hi to Shawn. Hi, Shawn.
Hi. And I need to say hi to the lab, right?
Hi to the lab.
Since I'm in Texas, should it be a howdy?
Howdy
to the lab. Howdy
I think that is the first time we've had a howdy to the lab. So
there we go.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Shawn, so much for being a guest in our Cyberspeak Labs today. Would you kind of mind giving an introduction of who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am a cybersecurity data privacy attorney, these days AI attorney also, tech AI related. And I'm with the law firm of Spencer Fain. I'm down in one of our Texas offices in Plano, Texas. Our firm is founded and stems from Kansas City. And so, I'm co-chair of our cyber data privacy AI practice group and spend pretty much 100% of my time advising clients on all these issues that are related to this. I got into cyber back in '99 with Y2K. That was supposed to be my rocket ship to stardom and early retirement, and here I am. So I've been trying to figure this stuff out over the years. But it's just I enjoy working with the tech cyber privacy community and doing what I can to just help contribute to the ideas and the discussion. So thank you so much for having me on here to be a part of it.
Oh, I told you in the green room, I was so excited to have you on this episode because I feel like on the legal side, you just have your fingers in so many different soups based off of your journey. And I was like, oh, I have to pick this guy's brain for a little bit.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. So I'm happy to share whatever I know or whatever I don't know, and we'll figure it out together.
Now, I am going to start this by asking probably the most, I would say, political question ever. Which state has the best barbecue? Kansas City, Missouri, or Dallas, Texas?
Okay, so I love Texas barbecue. I absolutely love Texas barbecue, and am a huge fan of it. And
Yes.
I haven't had enough Kansas City barbecue to be able to truly compare them. But back in September, we had our firm's retreat in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And we had our final event there at the big rail station, whatever, Union Station, whatever.
Oh, yes.
And one of the vendors there was doing barbecue, and it was absolutely amazing.
Oh.
And they said, this is great Kansas City barbecue. And it was some of the best barbecue I've ever had. So
yeah,
need to come to Kansas City more and try.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do a barbecue tour if you're ever in Kansas City.
I like that idea. I like it.
Awesome. Now, one thing that I kind of want to ask you a little bit, when you were first getting into law, did you pursue a degree in computer science first, or did you go the legal route first?
So I went the legal route. So
yeah.
I went to law school in 1996. I graduated in 1999. And in 1998, I did a self-study class on Y2K legal issues, litigation, and all of that stuff. And before that, I had zero interest in technology other than as a user. I was going to be a corporate attorney, do that kind of stuff. And the only experience I had was taking one WordPerfect class in college on how to use WordPerfect. So I went the legal route, and with Y2K, I got into the legal side with technology, and then when that fizzled out, I got into like internet contracting, because back then you didn't know if you could have a contract over the internet. That was a new area. So I published some journal articles on that. A couple of courts cited them, and I thought, hey, this is great. I found my next thing in tech law, right?
Yeah.
And then this thing called the Uniform Electronic Transactions Act came out and said, of course you can, next issue. And I was like, oh, there we go again, But it got my feet into it, and it got me into a position where I could start adapting to take on new issues as they emerged. And then we got into the hacking stuff in the 2000s, and I got farther into that in the mid 2000s. I handled my first data breach in 2001 before we had any laws on all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
We just had to stumble our way through it and try to figure out like the right thing to do. And then, the mid 2000s, the data breach side of things started picking up. And then one day Target and Home Depot happened, and it
Yep.
just changed my whole practice. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the lesson is adapting, all
Yes.
of us adapting.
Yes. Now, I have to ask this, you talk about such a very, I would say, very detailed journey that you have. What was one of the challenges that you faced going through your journey?
Well, the biggest challenge was when there are no rules.
Yeah.
Like as a lawyer, we look to rules, either statutory or through case law, or contracts, things like that, to kind of give us the guidelines. And when you don't have those rules, you've got to do a lot of reasoning from basic principles.
Right.
That was it was a horrible challenge early on as a baby lawyer, because you didn't have credibility. Nobody knew what you were talking about, and you didn't have clear rules. And
Yeah.
so, people used to tell me, Shawn, we're tired of hearing all this out of you. You've been telling us the sky is falling stuff for decades. And that challenge back then, learning how to navigate that with the advent of AI and
Yeah.
all of the same challenges we had with cyber law in the late 90s, the same process applies now to AI, how we're handling
yeah.
that. And so taking that model and learning from it of how to do it again has been interesting.
Yeah, I think the best advice someone working in data privacy has ever given to me, at least towards AI, is nothing's free. It might
Yeah,
say
yeah,
free, nothing's
absolutely.
free.
If it's free, you're the product.
Yeah.
When it's free, you are the product. So that's not good.
People really don't think about that. They're like, "Oh, I fixed my grammar." And then you're just like, "Oh, you sent it a whole company email."
Yeah. And I just gave this to the model now.
Yeah.
Everybody has it,
Oh, yeah. And now with AI and everything, I have to ask you this. I know this wasn't on the agenda though, but what do you see happening with AI with companies? Do you think, it's just going to be completely banned? Do you think it's going to be limitations from your set? Or what advice would you even have?
Um, you may think it's banned. You may try to ban it, but it's not going to be banned. It's going to get used. So
Yeah.
it's going to be the same thing we've experienced with shadow IT over the years.
Oh, yes.
Is you either enable your team to use something this powerful, or they're going to figure out their own way.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone recently. I was at a think tank. It was an all-day think tank on AI, the future of AI. And they said, that they had people they worked with that would sit at work with their work computer and have their personal laptop next to them, because what they couldn't do with the work computer, they would sit there and do using AI with their laptops.
Yeah.
And that's the reality, I think. So I think the future is we have to embrace it, but we have to embrace it with guardrails, and we have to embrace it with education.
Yes.
We can't just put policies and requirements into place and expect people to follow them. We have to explain to them what you just said.
Yep.
Nothing is free, right?
Yep.
And teach as we're implementing. And then we have to put limitations, right?
Yep.
We have to limit what data is accessible, what the models can do, how we're going to use them, and have clearly defined rules, for it.
I teach college on the side and everything, and one of the questions I got from one of my students was, "Can I just have AI do my homework?" And I'm like, "Well, it's no different than sending me screenshots from like Google or Chegg study websites and all these other
Yeah.
things." I'm like, you still gotta make it your own. I was like, "I'm sure there's a way to reference it by now."
There is, and when what we're seeing right now with the AI revolution, really, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we encountered with computers and online, the internet. When I was in law school in the mid 90s,
Yep.
we were just learning and hearing about these things called Westlaw and Lexis, these online databases that had all the cases in them, where you could search them with just a simple search string and boom, here's all this stuff. But we still had to learn to use the libraries, right? Because nobody had Westlaw and Lexis because it was too expensive.
Yep.
So we had these libraries full of books. We had to learn to use them, but we had to become skilled with how to use the services that were going to be emerging in the future. I think in the students' cases, they have to learn the subject matter the old-fashioned way, but
Yep.
then they have to learn how to use the tools, but not depend 100% on the tools. Use the tools to augment what you're doing, but still be able to deliver a finished final product. You
Yes.
know?
I also like to use the analogy, and you might laugh at this because you're a professional in this field, but I'm like, it's no different if you get into a Tesla and you fall asleep behind the wheel. Like, you can't let the car just drive you home. I was like, even though
Exactly.
you can, you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it may get you so far, but at the end of the day, you still need to have the human in control. And
Absolutely.
that's the lesson that we're seeing develop. And my thought is, I did a class recently on using AI the legal practice for wills and trusts,
Yes.
like how to create wills and trusts. I know nothing about how to create wills and trusts.
Yeah.
So I used AI to design the class for me. It was a one day lecture. It prepared the agenda, prepared the outline, and then I used it to do the content, the slides, even the pictures. And it was great. And I'm like, hey, have there been any cases that have done this? Oh,
Yeah.
yes, da 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 da. All right, give me an example of the case. Oh, and here's perfect what I asked for.
Yes.
And then I go look for it in Westlaw. That case doesn't exist.
The case doesn't exist.
It
I've
doesn't
ran
exist.
into that a few times too. It
Yeah,
tells a great story for dinner, but it does not
it
happen.
does not exist. And the problem is if I don't know that subject matter well enough, I
Yeah,
don't know when it's lying to me. So you got to
absolutely.
know the subject matter well enough to know when it's not doing it right. But if you do, and you know how to use the tool, it's a superpower.
Oh, yeah. It automates the Googles.
Yeah, it does. And it gives you that first draft so much
Oh,
better.
I like the executive summary on anything. I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah. And then you know the subject matter well enough to know, is this off base or is this pretty reasonable what I'm looking for?
Absolutely. Now, Shawn, we could talk about AI all day, I'm sure, but I definitely wanna highlight something that sparked my interest into really bringing you on this podcast, and I came home from work one day, and there was a package sitting on my porch, and I opened it up, and I was like, "Oh, this is Shawn's new book." I was like, "I am so excited for this."
Yay. And thank you for the wonderful LinkedIn shout out. I appreciate it.
I was like, "Yay, and it's signed, I feel so cool."
Well, these go to my friends, my secure world friends. We go back.
Absolutely. I feel like somehow everyone's connected through Secure World
Yeah,
eventually. So
we
thank you,
really
Secure World.
yeah.
Now, I need to ask you this. What gave you inspiration for the book?
You know, I've always wanted to write a book. I've actually got several books kind of outlined that I've
Yes.
always wanted to do. But this came about. I spend most of my time as an attorney, not with lawyers, but with security professionals. So a lot of CISOs, a lot of events with CISOs. And I've had a lot of conversations with them about legal issues where they come up to me and they go, God, I wish I could go ask our attorneys about this. I'm like, well, why don't you? Well, we don't know our attorneys and they've got all this important stuff to do. And I'm like, well, what's more important than cybersecurity issues, I
Yep.
mean, to a company. But what I realized is there was a barrier and they didn't know each other. And I'm like, why don't they know each other? And so what I started figuring out was the more sophisticated companies that had more, and I shouldn't say sophisticated company, I should say more mature in
Yes.
their cybersecurity journey. Their security teams had a good relationship with their legal department. So about 40% of my work is advisory, compliance, governance, risk management, right?
Yes.
60 to 70% of my work, depending on the season, is working as breach counsel. So it's handling data breaches and cyber attacks and
Yeah.
ransomware attacks. And what I've realized, almost all of my cases in the incident response world, there's no relationship between cyber and legal because they haven't reached that point of maturity in their journey.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I've spent my career working with legal departments and working with cyber teams. Why not try to create a book to give them talking points on at least ideas that they can start their conversation with? And the whole point of it, I couldn't go very deep into
Yeah.
most of the issues because there's just too many issues to address. It's more
Yeah.
like, hey, these are some talking points. But the whole point was to give them things to talk about and to say, hey, these are issues you should be working on together. Go have a cup of coffee, and you may
Yeah.
sit down and say, who is this idiot lawyer? He has no idea what he's talking about. But if it gets you talking, then
Yeah.
that's my job, to be that catalyst. And
Yeah.
so what I tried to do was, as I started thinking through it, I realized the similarities between legal and security. We are the two defenders of the organization.
I was about to say they're meant to protect the company and the assets in some way.
They really are. And our nature is protective. And because of that protective nature, many times we are on guard about things and we're not always terribly collaborative with outside people outside of our teams. And so as I started thinking through a lot of that, I realized there are so many similarities that if our legal teams and our cyber teams could get to know each other better, they would find they really make a great team together. So that was the
Yeah.
whole point of it.
Yes. Oh, and it's so needed. I remember the first time I worked, I would say big corporate America, right? I was like, I'm so afraid to talk to our legal team, And it's just they're not the bad guys, right? They're there to help as well. And it's funny because I remember the first time a person in the legal field had to ask me for cyber advice, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I made it as a professional when someone that works in like real laws asking me
Yeah,
cyber questions.
like they care what I think, and it's true. It's
Yeah.
and what I've found is there's more of that intimidation factor for the cyber people to approach the legal. Um, I, there was another thing that I heard when I was starting the thought process of
Yeah.
writing this. A friend of mine, Shamoon Siddiqui, who is a master CISO, and just a brilliant, wonderful man. He was on a panel and he was talking about his GC, and he said, my GC's C is a lot bigger than my C as a CISO. And I thought, wow, that's saying so much because our security people are oftentimes a little bit intimidated to go talk to the legal department.
Yeah.
And the legal department, it's not that they don't want to talk to the security people. They really don't know that they need to.
Yeah.
And so my goal was probably more writing this for the legal departments to have people in the security team give this to their legal department to say, hey, this is why and how you need to work with us. Because it was more ignorance. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
Yeah.
I mean, they just didn't know we need to reach out and be collaborating with these people.
You don't know until an incident happens.
No, you don't. And, and that's one of the funny things is I was talking to someone about this the other day in a legal department, and they said, okay, great. Well, we'll let everybody, we'll write everybody's name down. And when we have an incident, we'll know who to call.
And you're like, wait.
I started thinking about that. Exactly. That was my reaction. I thought, okay, you're going on this journey into the jungles of the Amazon. And when you get lost and you can't find your way out, now you know who to call, right? How about you call this guide that's been into the Amazon thousands of times before you get lost and say, maybe,
Yep.
how do I avoid getting lost? Or how do I pack to prepare? And what should I take? And what should I do?
Yep.
I mean, bring in your experts before you need them so that hopefully you never do.
Yes. Yes. Nail on the head, Shawn. Nail on the head. And it's frustrating on the defense side, right? You're in the middle of an incident and everything, and then it's just like, oh, here's a million questions I need to be answered right now. And you're just like, but there's a fire. And they're like, no, I need this right now. And you're like,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me put pause on this ransomware negotiation.
You're like, okay, I will help you, GC.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's even something that came up recently actually, this has been the last few conferences I've been at, and a lot of, I would say, companies with more younger security programs where they might be servicing out to a third party and stuff like that. It blows my mind how many people do not read those contracts before signing.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, an incident happens and they're just like, why didn't you escalate to us? And they're like, well, technically we have a 48-hour obligation. And I'm just like, those are numbers that should be negotiable, like upfront right away. And people don't know how to read those contracts, especially people that aren't technical, right? They might have just happened to be at the right place, right time, and now they own this MSSP contract. And they're just like, yeah, sure, checkbox. Okay, we're
Yeah.
good.
I mean, you're exactly right, because this is your first line of defense.
Yes.
I had a call yesterday with a client that I started working with about a year and a half ago as their breach counsel in a really nasty ransomware attack
Oh,
that
yes.
was caused by their MSP. Their
Oh my
MSP got
gosh.
infiltrated, their tools got used to encrypt their data, their network, their environment, and they're in
Oh,
healthcare. So let's just check off every nasty.
let's just check off every single bad thing that could
Yeah,
happen with every acronym.
yeah, exactly. So they, we get a lot of that behind us, and
Yeah.
they say, all right, we need a new MSP. And I said, okay, great. And they're like, what else do we need? I'm like, you need a virtual CISO. You
Yes.
need you need MSP for make your systems work. You need
Yep.
security as well. And so they're like, okay, cool. So they hire these teams,
Yep.
and everybody gets started, and then they're like, we seem to have some friction here. And of course, nobody wants to pay the lawyer to come in when I'm not needed, right? And they're like, can you help us with this, Shawn? And I said, yes. So let me talk to both teams. Let me talk to them and see.
Yeah.
And so I do. And what I realize is they have two great providers, but they don't yet know how to work together as a team.
Got it.
And the MSP doesn't realize they're not really an MSSP. They do security, they do it
Yeah.
pretty good, but they're not a true MSSP.
Yeah.
And they want to CISO there in name only, but they don't want to loop them in on the decisions.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, no, wait. The CISO is in charge of security.
Yep.
They got you're not making decisions without them on security matters.
Something's gotta, gotta tie here.
Yeah. And so what we see is we have great teams in place, but we have gaps in the coverage because they don't yet know how to work together. And so it took another meeting and forming a committee to put everybody together at the same time to say, look, we got to make sure we know areas of responsibility.
Yes.
We know who escalates to who, when, how, why. Because what's the point of having a great team, back to your point, if we don't know how to use them?
Absolutely. And I honestly, I always vote that just pay a legal fee up front, right? If you don't have a good legal team, right? Or if it's a one-person shop, pay that outsource, have someone just do that second validation look through this contract, because it can save you a lot of money down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, it takes a couple hours to negotiate sometimes a contract, and to make sure that language is right. It takes a couple of years or more to deal with an incident that wasn't managed properly because you didn't have that relationship right.
Yeah. Or even cyber insurance in general, right? It amazes me how many people don't understand their own insurance policy, and they just think it's like a giant safety net. I'm like, no, like you should even be reading your homeowner insurance, your auto insurance, right? You can't just like be signing this million dollar insurance contract for your company and be like, yeah, it's fine, we have insurance. You know, it doesn't. If people don't like, it does not work that way.
It's nothing like that. And there are hundreds of providers out there.
Oh
They
yes.
have different approaches to how they handle incident response,
Hmm.
and you have to understand your exclusions,
Yep.
because a lot of times your exclusions will cut out what you're really trying to get.
Yep.
You have to understand your sublimits, because you may have a $5 million policy and a $250,000 sublimit on social engineering, which
Yep.
is where you're probably going to have some of your biggest losses, right?
Yep.
And then the part that nobody thinks about is, how does that insurance carrier handle incident response?
Ugh,
Do they give you your choice in vendors to work with? Do they control that? Do they have the right to direct what your DFIR firm does
yep.
and investigates? Many times they do. And so you put all this time and effort into incident response planning, have a great team ready to go, then game day hits and you can't use your whole team. You got to
No.
now use the team they're telling you.
Yeah.
All that, if you know to work through it, you can work through all that ahead of time.
Yeah, and it just again, right, the 5 seconds of just asking questions, and it's just Shawn, if you ever need an idea for a book, you know, I feel like that's one for you. I What to ask with an MSSP contract in a cyber insurance.
That would be a great one. I mean,
That is so much needed in today's world.
and it changes so quickly, because what I would have told you 2 years ago, or sometimes 2, 3 months ago, might be different now.
Oh, yeah,
Um, you know,
especially with the threat landscape and how it's especially with the AI threats that are coming out, you know, it's gonna be a different tomorrow than it is today.
it really
So
is. It really is. So,
now, Shawn, we are heading close to the end of the show, and I know time goes by fast in the cyber lab that we have.
yeah.
And I always like to end with two questions for the guests. The first one being, what is a good place for people to follow you on social media or even to check out your books that you have written?
Sure. So the best place for social media is probably LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn and search Shawn, SHAWNETUMA, Tuma, and should be pretty easy to find there. And please connect with me, start a conversation. You know, I love making friends on LinkedIn. And then for the book, I have it in two places. So I have a website called the GC CISO Connection, GC CISO Connection.com, and then it's now on Amazon. So you can search for it on Amazon. It's called the GC CISO Connection. And so you can find it there. And I have a podcast that just kicked off. So I've
Oh,
recorded
yes.
all of 4 episodes. Only 2 have been pushed out so far, but I'm really learning a lot about how difficult that can be. So, but it's a lot of fun, because
Podcasts are very fun.
you know, we can't write books fast enough to keep up with the trends, but we can have conversations like this. And that's
Yeah.
why it's so great like this.
Yes, I will say this in my grave and forever and ever, but cybersecurity is such a collaborative community. You know, everyone just wants to learn from one another, and that's honestly how you succeed in this field, is just getting insight from other people, especially like you, Shawn. You know, I've learned new things talking to you through this podcast. So,
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. People throw around these words, cybersecurity expert, this expert, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
There's not one of us out there that knows all the answers,
no,
and that can do all the things that need to be done. We are all learning. And if we ever stop learning, we really have a problem.
absolutely.
And the best way to learn is through collaboration, just like you said, because this is the ultimate team effort right here.
Yes. You know, it always feels good to give back to the community too. You never know who you might inspire to go to law school, Shawn.
You know, I had a lot of people inspire me along the way, and I've had people inspire me to do different things since then, that I've done, but it's been because of people taking the time to invest and to care. And to me, one of the greatest honors any of us can have is when we can have that impact on someone else. So,
Absolutely.
yes,
And
so
that's
kudos
gonna
to you for teaching and sharing and being out there speaking. I know how much you speak. I see you all over the place.
That's all the Red Bulls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Shawn, this leads me into my very last question I have for you. What is some advice that you want to give to our listeners?
Um, Stay curious. Be
Yes.
curious. Be continuously learning and understand that in 5 years, none of us will be doing what we're doing today. This
No.
evolves so quickly. So be agile and always understand that no matter how much we may love what we're doing, we're really preparing for that next step in the journey because it's constantly changing. But the more you know today, the more you learn today, the better prepared you'll be to adapt and make those changes going forward.
Oh, it's it's amazing. Trademark that. Put it everywhere. Put it on a
I
sticker.
can't
Next
even
time I
repeat
see you, it better be
it.
on a sticker. Stay curious by Shawn.
Stay curious. Yeah. Stay
Well,
curious.
thank you, Shawn, so much for joining us as a guest today in Cyberspeak Labs, Defenders and Lab Coats. I am Reanna Schultz, again, your podcast host, and please make sure to check out Shawn's book, his social media, his website, pretty much anything with his name on it. It is great material that you can absolutely learn and collaborate on. So please make sure to like, subscribe the podcast, and we will talk again soon. See you guys.